working to save our bees. And it's a great.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, October 23rd, 2020. The time is 10:01 a.m. and I would like to call to order the Committee of the Whole. The first item on the agenda is the chairperson's roll call. I will go ahead and name everyone on the meeting. I am Basha Adamczak, 7th Ward City Council. We have Councilman Oliver, Valencia Mero, Councilwoman Anita Davis, Councilwoman Lauren McNally, Councilwoman Samantha Turner, Councilman Mike Ray, Jennifer Ozinger, Rick Deek, and from WRTA we have with us Executive Director Dean Harris, Judy Rodriguez, and Jennifer Laffner. The next item on the agenda is new business, and under new business we have the WRTA presentation with Dean Harris. Mr. Harris?
Thank you. Thank you for letting us give a chance to present to the council. As you may be aware, there's been some things going on with Trumbull County. They have had a transit system up there for many years, and then the last year, they kind of switched their funding around, so they are cutting back on their trips. And so the commissioners have asked us to see if what WRTA can do for them up in Trumbull County. So what we've done is we've talked with them, and one of the options is for WRTA to expand our service area up into Trumbull County. In order to do that, it's going to require a couple of steps. The biggest one is really kind of starts with Trumbull County, because there's two ways for our sales tax to be expanded into Trumbull County, and that is if by a vote of the citizens, or Trumbull County commissioners can also agree to have our sales tax be imposed directly as we expand up there. And for that to happen, of course, they have to pass a resolution. The city council will have to amend the current resolution that started WRTA, and so will the Mahoning County commissioners. And just to give you a little more background, so in 2019, the Trumbull County senior levy was providing funding before 2019. Was providing funding to the transit board to provide trips. Well, at the end of 2019, they cut off that funding. So this is why Trumbull County Transit Board is in a position where they can't provide the trips. So what we're going to do, we're meeting with Trumbull County, with our attorneys and their attorney, to kind of work out that language I talked about. And so sometime between now and the end of the year, we're hoping we have some kind of framework to present to City Council on a modification to founding resolution that created and then modified size of WRTA to include Trumbull County. So kind of bring this to you so you know what's going on. If you have any questions about specifically about how that would look, I can try and give you some answers, but there's still the attorneys have to work it out. And our attorney has been in somewhat contact with the law director. I don't know how much at this point, but they have reached out to them at least, so that they at least know who they are and what's going on a little bit. And like I said, we've also worked with the Mahoning County commissioners and the prosecuting attorney who represents them. Not exactly sure how the framework works for them. And then the same thing with Trumbull County.
If I can interrupt you for just one second. Jennifer, I think you got to let Basha back into the meeting. She got knocked out. Sorry.
No problem.
Continue. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was almost done anyways. So at this point, we're meeting with the Trumbull County commissioners next Friday, I believe it is, or maybe it's Thursday. And then to have the attorneys kind of talk and present the two different options they have. And then I'm thinking probably after the election, they'll make some decision on how they want to proceed, whether it's having the voters vote on it, or having us just move into Trumbull County. Once we have that decision, then we'll be back for the City Council and before Mahoning County Commissioners to work out the modification to the resolution that controls WRJ's structure. So at that point, I'll gladly answer any questions about that. If you have any questions about WTA in general, I'm definitely glad to answer that. But I just want to make sure everyone's aware of what's going on because there has been a lot of news articles and I didn't want anybody to be blindsided by what's going on. Didn't have time to think about it before we move too far.
Councilman Davis, but I would like to state for the record that Council President Demeen Kitchen is with us, but Anita?
Oh, okay, thank you. So currently, we have no buses going to Trumbull County. I'm sorry, but my mic or my speaker's not really that great. So
Sure.
we don't have anything going to Trumbull County right now?
So we do technically have some stuff. We have the Warren Express, which we've been running. We had a grant to provide express service into the city of Warren. We also were very fortunate that ODOT gave us a grant this year in 2020. We started 6 routes in the city of Warren. The funding lasts through May of 2021. And we got a little bit of money to run some countywide paratransit service. But once that money runs out, then all we'll have left is the Warren Express. We
And-
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I
We do have a
apologize.
little bit of service that goes into the Giant Eagle up in Liberty Township on Belmont.
And so
Hold on.
this would expand, follow the, through the chair. This
ahead,
would,
Anita.
this would expand it into, how far into Trumbull County?
So if they agree to be the whole county, so it'd be a countywide sales tax and a countywide service. So kind of mirror what we have in Mahoney County. There'll be some fixed routes that serve Warren. We haven't got our complete plan set up yet. We're working on that right now to show where we're going to be. But I would assume some service like to Hubbard and between Warren and Lordstown. A good portion of it will be paratransit service because a lot of Trumbull County is rural. So it'll be mostly paratransit service north of the city of Warren.
You're gonna have to turn that down. Anything else, Anita? Or if not, then I'll move on to Councilman Turner.
No, I'll go ahead with Samantha. I have a bunch more questions.
Okay, Samantha?
Hi, thank you through the chair. So during the focus groups that you were having over the last year and a half or so, expansion, of course, to Warren and what that means for employment opportunities, expanding the Nightline, but also there was conversation about doing more inside of the communities and bringing people out onto the main thoroughfares. Is that still a part of this plan?
So that's 2 separate discussions. The Mahoning County service, we're switching service around to try and address areas of service, like we added the Midlothian connector route, which brought a route along Midlothian that connected 3 or 4 routes together and serviced the Boardman area. We've also expanded on the service out to Lordstown. We've also working on, we switched our late night service, which was a fixed route service. So generally, we had service that went to 7 p.m., a normal service, and then after 7 p.m., we went to Nightline service, which we went from 20 routes down to 6 routes. Well, after we came back from the COVID issue, we extended our service to 9 p.m. with our regular routes. Then we switched over to something called late night, which is a paratransit service, so an on-demand service. So you can call and reserve a trip to help better provide transportation to the whole service area that our fixed route served before we switched over from fixed route to paratransit.
Samantha?
Thank you. And direct follow. So with the changes in this, in your schedule and how you move throughout the valley, how many more people are you able to serve?
I can't answer that directly because we serve kind of the same amount of people. And then with COVID, we kind of lost ridership. Our ridership was growing 4 to 5% in the last 2 years, but we're down 40% right now because of COVID and having to limit the number of passengers on a bus, and just basically just probably because unemployment has caused a lot of issues. We're currently running free service to try and help that situation out because people don't have the money to get any place. We at least like them to be able to get to food and if they're going to school. So I can't really, that answer is hard to say, but we're serving the same population, basically. Same areas, same people.
Even though you're expanding your geographic or area.
So 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 Trumbull County, if we add Trumbull County to this, so we will then now have all of Trumbull County included into our service. And that will include what we're running now, which is the Warren Express in the Warren. The 6 routes we're currently running in Warren, we'll expand those a little bit, better hours. Right now, they're only running 6 to 6 approximately. We'll like I said, we'll probably add service to Hubbard and to Lordstown between Warren. So the fixed route service will grow, I don't know, 10, 20%. The countywide service will probably go a lot more. We only have 2 buses right now that run countywide in Trumbull County. That'll probably grow to 7, 8, 9. We figure we're going to go from, we're currently we're budgeted to have about 80 drivers right now. We're growing to 89 next year. We think if we add Trumbull, we'll add probably close to 35 to 40 more positions. So employment-wise, internally, we will definitely grow. Trumbull County compared to Mahoning, they're about 40% less the size of Mahoning County. So we're trying to use that as the factor, about 40% less size-wise, but coverage-wise, will increase our service by about 60%, between 40 and 60%.
Thank you. And just one more question. You mentioned the Liberty, John Eagle, and I believe we also talked about Warren Plaza when we were doing those discussions. Any
Hello.
other businesses
Hi.
that you're
having issues.
have
Rose County and
any other businesses or organizations are you partnering with to do hubs in the areas instead of building like a main station like we have in downtown?
So we've not gone that far in the discussion for Trumbull County area. Just a side note, like the John Eagle and Liberty, we're going to be running some of our routes we currently run in that area. We're going to put them up there. So John Eagle now will have 3 routes.
We're gonna add 3 more routes.
We're going to add 3 more routes that tie into Giant Eagle in December, because we used to in the past go there, but we figured that'd be a nice little hub that can have a connection between 4 routes together. As far as Trumbull County goes, it'd probably be Warren. There might be something in Lordstown if we have routes from both Youngstown and Warren terminating there. One of my other ideas that I'd like to try is a route into Akron to provide service to Akron and then connect in Akron with Cleveland, so that especially veterans who want to get to the VA hospital will have an option. We've been working with Columbiana County because they want a connection into Youngstown and they want a connection to Cleveland too. So we're trying to coordinate services between at least the 3-county area. And I know ODOT's very, very big on regionalization. So they're really pushing us to try and coordinate with the other systems that are out there. Trumbull County is kind of different because they lost their system. So we're trying to expand our system that way, but Columbia County still will have theirs. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Councilman Oliver, you had your hand up, and then Anita.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. So my question is, I know we've already had residents asking for things like, additional routes or previous routes being added back on, like the Hillman Street route and others. So my question is, this expansion in the Trumbull County, is it going to in any way take away from the services in Youngstown, or are you guys purchasing like a whole new bus fleet for Trumbull County? And what happens if you don't get this additional funding from the voters or when it goes on the ballot?
Sure. So the first thing first, no funding, no service. So Trumbull County will pull back our routes once the grants are pull back all the routes except for the Warren Express. That's got a grant, so it's being paid for. It's our 5th bus route. So we probably will keep that one going because it does bring a lot of individuals into Youngstown and into Warren. So it's a good route. If we do get Trumbull County, one of the benefits is that it will spread our base costs or admin costs over 2 counties. So it actually would free up some Mahoning County sales tax to be able to add even more service in Mahoning County. So it's kind of a benefit for Mahoning County. And as far as capital purchases like that, that'll be Trumbull County's money, so that will affect us here. As far as adding service, we are always looking for new service. We have a grant to add, not so much new service, but more time. We have 2 routes we're going to be adding. We're going to go from hourly to half-hour service on our Austintown route and the Elm route. So we're going to be trying to increase the amount of time, decrease the amount of time people have to wait for buses. We also look at other areas to serve with routes. Like I said, we just did the Lordstown one. I know it's out of Youngstown one, but it's an area that Youngstown residents will have a chance to get jobs. And especially the Akron one, I think might help with seniors getting doctor appointments that they can't have done in Youngstown, and our veterans are two key populations we're trying to stick with that route. Oh, yeah, and the Lordstown will also tie into TJX when it's finished in Lordstown, and the battery plant, and the truck company they're trying to put out there. So we're hoping that will be a nice employment hub. Mama's Meals, especially Mama's Meals out there, they've been dying for people to work there, and they have a hard time getting employees. So I think that'll help pull some of the Youngstown folks into a job opportunity in that area. Locally, we continue to look at routes. Most of them are out in the suburbs. We have a lot of loops. We're trying to make them into regular routes, because loops, you either have a 10-minute trip to where you're going, or you have an hour trip, because it loops both ways. So just little things we're looking at, trying to make it more efficient for individuals to run. And if we get contacted by the chamber for businesses that need help, we try to see if we can redirect route service to them to get the opportunity for more employees to get to work on the bus.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just asked you to put some additional thought into adding those routes back in Youngstown that are needed. Thank you.
And just want to add one more thing. You had called a couple weeks ago about our downtown facility being closed and trying to get it back open because of some issues that our neighbors are having. We haven't opened it back up yet, but we're thinking probably in 2 or 3 weeks we'll have it open. We've been trying to do some stuff internally to prevent crowding and keep the crowds down. But we have increased our security walkarounds to try and adjust some of the issues our local businesses next to us had, to try and keep an eye on that situation.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you. Councilman Davis?
Yes, through the chair. Up here in my ward, in the 6th ward, and from part of the 1st ward as well, but from South High School, the old South High School, all the way up to Akron's Children's Hospital, there is not a single bus shelter on Market Street. Now, if you're going to be expanding into Trumbull County, why aren't you providing and expanding your routes there? Why aren't you providing shelters here on Market Street, right where you're already based?
So
I'm kind of curious.
So good news on that one. We got a grant a couple months ago that's getting ready to kick off. We're awarding the contract. It's called a TOD, or Transit Oriented Development Grant.
Mm-hmm.
And that grant is designed to review Market Street from downtown Youngstown into Boardman. And what that will do is it will review the needs of that route and how to improve it, locations for potential shelters and areas, basically how to improve that whole route and make it more transit friendly. Once that's finished, that will allow us to then apply for other grants, because then we'll have a plan to show why we need them. So we are working toward that. I can't tell you how fast it's going to be, but we are, Market Street's definitely already being looked at right now.
Well, through the chair, with your ridership, in here in Youngstown and on Market Street, you don't have a count, like a numerical account of the number of riders that you have. And same thing, that question I'm asking about Trumbull County as well. Do you have a total of the ridership that you have in Trumbull County?
Sure. So we do have ridership by routes. I don't know. Do we have a Market Street? Yeah, we don't have that in front of us. Market Street is probably one of our better routes. I think it's the 3rd best one. So we think it's the 3rd best route as far as ridership goes. So we do, work with that route quite a bit. The Trumbull County, we do have numbers for that. We have, like I said, we have 6 routes that we're running right now that are specifically just in Trumbull County, from Warren to Warren. They are doing pretty good for being brand new routes. They wouldn't be as good as some of our Youngstown routes, because population-wise, they can't compete. Our Warren Express is our 5th best route overall, so it does very well.
And excuse me, but I didn't catch what you said about the ranking for Market Street. It's your 3rd best route?
That's correct, 3rd best.
And to the chair, one last question.
Yes.
So should this levy pass, if you were to be able to go forward with this whole thing, how would this impact Youngstown residents? Will it cost us anything if the ridership in Trumbull County doesn't turn out to be the way that you want it? that it needs to be, will we have to pick up the cost?
So this cost will be, there is no additional cost to Mahoney County at all. The money that's raised in Trumbull County will be used for Trumbull County service, and except for, I mentioned earlier, the admin cost and like maintenance cost of the vehicles, that'll be shared per route between the two. So a percentage of my cost and the electricity for the building and stuff will be paid for by Trumbull County sales tax. So in reality, a little bit of the Mahoney money will actually be saved by Trumbull County joining, that we'll be able to put back into more service. And if the service doesn't pan out in Trumbull County, that's a different issue. It doesn't really affect what happens in Mahoney County directly. It's really what money we get from Trumbull County, we use to provide service in Trumbull County. What money we get in Mahoney, we use to provide service in Mahoney. And we continually, even again, regardless if we go into Trumbull County or not, we continually look at all our routes and try and add as much as we can, but still keeping a balanced budget. And that's the biggest factor, is we can't, we have a limited budget like this. I'm sure you are with the city. We have to make priorities on our better routes, and we do, and we try to add what we can.
Thank you. Did you have another question, Anita?
No, I have a lot of questions. I don't want to be, hogging up the airtime.
Did any of my other colleagues have a question? Councilman Ray?
Not to get off topic, and I think Anita did ask a question about shelters. I know recently I've seen a lot of new signs up for stops. I don't know if that was grant funding or what you did to do that, but what is the criteria for when you do a shelter? Is it usage or location or?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. One, it's definitely usage. We don't put shelters where it's low usage. The second biggest thing is location. Because we have that permission to actually put the shelter where it's located. We can't just throw it up, because we need the business owners or whoever is sponsoring the shelter, not sponsoring, but the land, basically give us rights to access their land. So those are the two criteria we look at, and then we need grant funds to pay for the shelter itself.
Mike, did you have a follow-up?
No, thank you. So, I mean, if there is a location that we see or something, or one of our neighborhoods where we'd want to do one, we could work with you. I know we have a neighborhood group on Mahoning Avenue work to put one where a lot they revitalize. So,
Yeah. And I forgot to answer bus stop sign question. So yeah, we got a grant to put bus stop signs up. Those are also based on locations near retail and heavily used bus stops. We're trying to move, because right now we're a flag stop, so basically you can stay anywhere on the route, wave the bus down and we stop. We're one of the few larger systems that even allow that, and we're trying to transition to a traditional bus stop only for safety purposes, because there are a lot of locations we should be picking people up at or dropping them off at, and to also try speed up the bus route. So if we keep stopping every driveway, it slows the route down and then causes us other problems with connections and maintaining our time points.
thank you.
Anyone else? Anita?
So through the chair, so what is the cost to put up a bus shelter?
So shelter itself is usually between $5,000 and $7,000. Then there's a few $1,000s, give or take, for the concrete work, and then that's probably, so we're probably talking between $8,000 to $10,000.
8 to 10,000.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a phone number where you can be reached, or so I can call and make an appointment to chit chat with you one-on-one?
Sure. 744-8431.
8431
Yes. Extension 109.
109.
Call anytime. That goes for anybody else who wants to call. I'm available to anybody.
Through the chair, so will you be having to put shelters up in Warren for these new routes?
Only if they're justified. So we won't just put them out there. We do have to, well, the routes we first, and once we start seeing Russia patterns, and we find a clear location, we will. Trumbull County's actually put up their own shelters without us because we don't spend any of our capital money up there. So they've done their own, but we've not done any of ours.
Thank you, Anita. Did you have a follow-up question? Great, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Harris, to you and your team for the presentation. The next item on the agenda is to schedule meeting, and that will be done as needed. And all I need now is a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 10:27.